Welcome to Equipping Ministries class on staph infection. A healthy church staff is invaluable to a church and senior pastor. However, an unhealthy staff can be catastrophic. Its unhealthiness can impede the vision and mission of a church and drain the senior pastor's strength. It can greatly divide a church as members are often unknowingly drawn into battle and left to choose sides. This class is designed to provide you a brief overview of preventing, identifying, and resolving problems within your church office or ministry team. I am Pamela Smith, and I am your instructor for the class. The resource for this class is the book How to Treat a Staph Infection by Dr. Craig Williford and Carolyn Williford. At the time of this recording, the book is available at turningpointstore.org and amazon.com. You are encouraged to purchase this book and use it as a future resource, as the majority of what is covered in this session is not in the book. This session uses very little information from the book and only uses a few of the names of the infection and very few highlights of treatment. And it does not use the author's intricate details because this class has been written to fit within the scope of our training. This class is geared toward pastors and ministry assistants, so please order the book for your own personal studies. We do want to thank Dr. Craig and Carolyn in permitting us to quote from their book. Now let's look at a scenario that is going to be used throughout the class. Pastor Jack has been the senior pastor of First Church for 5 years. If you ask him, it has been 5 turbulent years. When he initially accepted the invitation to become the senior pastor 3 months after the previous pastor had abruptly resigned, he knew there were some issues in the church. However, he never imagined that the root would be found in his office staff. There is Lisa, the trusted administrator, who has been in her position for 4.5 years. Then there's Alma, the church secretary, who is the first full-time staff member the church ever had beside the senior pastor. She has been there for 15 years. There's Vivian, the pastor's administrative assistant of 2.5 years. Mark, the full-time youth pastor, has been there for 2 years. And there's Doug, the part-time facility manager of 6 years. And we have Craig, the minister of music, for the past 3 years. Pastor Jack used to come to the office at least 4 days a week. Now he avoids it as much as possible. The stress of the toxicity is more than he can handle. Constantly having to deal with senseless disputes, the manipulation, the sabotage has just drained him of his strength and blurred his vision to the true purpose he was sent to First Church. Now he knows that Alma is the root of the problem, but she is such a great manipulator he has found it difficult to get the board to agree to terminate her employment. Instead, 3 years ago, his mere suggestion aligned one half of the board against him, with them citing that the previous pastor tried the same thing because Alma is the eyes and ears for the board, and there was no way they would terminate her. Alma constantly stirs confusion among the staff and members. Last year, Pastor Jack reached out to the previous pastor who had relocated to another state. The conversation confirmed what Pastor Jack already knew. Alma was the root, but how deeply embedded her grip was an eye-opener to the pastor. She had been a member of the church since her early teens, and when she graduated from high school, she got an associate degree and worked as a secretary for a local company until it went out of business, but has always helped in the church office. She had been the volunteer church secretary for 5 years before becoming a full-time paid church secretary 15 years ago. Alma was good as a secretary, but when the church began to grow tremendously, the pastor needed an administrator. Once that Lisa came aboard, that Alma's issues became magnified and the atmosphere in the church office greatly shifted, and eventually so did the churches. Noah Webster defines infection as an act by which poisonous matter produces disease in a healthy body. Infection is anything that taints, poisons, or corrupts. And an infection can cause a healthy church to quickly become toxic, full of chaos, confusion, and division. A staph infection can be deadly to the health of not only your church office, but your church. A staph infection can be deadly to the health of not only your church office, but your church. In our class, Setting Up and Running a Church Office, in the session on maintaining a godly atmosphere, we stress that the church office sets the tone for the church. If there is chaos or division in the church office, it will spread throughout the church. In an effort to help Alma understand her ongoing value to the team, Pastor Jack, thinking Alma was also intimidated by the obvious expert computer and administrative skills of Lisa, he offered to send Alma to any continuing education classes that she desired within the church's budget, and even gave her a few brochures on some classes that he thought would interest her. However, Alma rejected the offer and turned it into an assault against her abilities. The staff had become well acquainted with Alma's behavior, but she was able to manipulate some members to her side, even showing some of them the flyers that he had given to her to prove her point.